After getting a taste of some real Gunpla battling, Riku's Gunpla, the Gundam 00 Diver Ace, has been destroyed. So it's time for him to build a brand new one, and he's gonna get a little bit of help from his friends. I'm going to be very brief with today's review because this is a glorified recap episode. Not the traditional recap episode where they spend the entire one just showing us clips from the previous episodes. No, this one is more of just a build-up to Riku building his brand new Gunpla, which we finally get to see at the very end of the episode. And if I can be completely honest with you guys, I'm a little disappointed by the actual design. It's not that much different than the 00 Diver Ace. It has a brand new name and even some brand new abilities, but for the most part, it's just a slightly upgraded version of the Gundam that we saw before, which is to say it's playing it safe. It's the traditional main Gundam of the series. Lots of whites, lots of blues, and that's about it. But this entire episode was about Riku reassessing how he is going to build his brand new Gunpla. He actually got a really good taste of what a real Gunpla battle was, and that sort of reinvigorated him. And he's using a lot of ridiculous metaphors, like saying that he's going to take the soul of his Gunpla and place it into another. It's all a part of that thing where the pilot becomes this much closer with their actual Gundam in the series, except here that it is honestly kind of silly. But most of the episode follows him going around to all of the people that he's met in the GBN world, trying to get their advice while they recount all of the times that they met Riku in the past, and even some of the crazy battles that he's actually endured. And by the end of the episode, we're formally introduced to his brand new Gundam, which goes by the name of the Gundam 00 Sky. That's basically the name of it. I'm not sure why it has that name, but the cool thing is you actually do get to see a little of it in action in the brand new intro of this episode, which is pretty cool. I have to say that I really enjoy a lot of the imagery here, and it doesn't give away too much of what the second half of the series is going to be about. It looks like they're actually going to try and reignite the rivalry between Riku and Hellfire Ogre, which is something I'm really hoping to see, considering we didn't get to see too much of a real battle from these two characters quite yet. They've never been able to actually complete a single fight. We also get the introduction of a ton of new characters in the intro. It looks like there's going to be an SD Gundam squad where they can combine all of their SD Gundams together. That looks like that's going to be a lot of fun. But overall, I'm going to have to watch the intro a couple more times so that I can get used to it and the imagery and, of course, the song. Honestly, for me personally, I think my favorite thing about this episode was actually getting to see Ayame in real life. And yes, the stars have aligned. She just so happens to live nearby in the same town as all of these main characters, and her name in real life is actually Aya Fujisawa, and she basically looks almost identical to her GBN self, aside from a different hairstyle and the fact that her personality seems a little more laid back and not as intense. Basically, Ayame should be the main character of the series as far as I'm concerned. So what's the rundown on this episode of Gundam Build Divers? Not like a full-on recap episode, but basically just sort of a refresher episode before we move on to the next part of the series. I feel that all the recap stuff was kind of unnecessary, as Gundam Build Divers is not a very deep show and it's very easy to understand what's actually going on. So maybe this was just an episode for the new viewers of the series who decided to jump on at this point. That being said, I did feel that it was a little unnecessary, and man, I was just hoping for so much more from Riku's brand new Gundam. The way that they built it up in the preview with the silhouette, you couldn't fully see it, and finally seeing it in this episode right here, I was just kind of like, oh, that's it. It just has a few more things added to it. But there are some interesting aspects of it. The fact that it takes a lot of elements from not only Gundams from Gundam Age, but in specifically the Destiny Gundam from Gundam Seed. And it looks really cool in some senses. But we're going to have to see this thing in action a little bit more. As it is, it's just sort of like your generic main Gundam of the series, and I was just hoping for so much more. I really wanted them to break the mold this time, especially because the last couple Gundam series have made some pretty big changes. I loved the design of the mobile suits in Iron-Blooded Orphans, and I loved in the spin-off series Gundam Thunderbolt how the main Gundam evolved into something which looks completely different from the main Gundam that you typically see as the main character of the series. Here, it looks like they're playing it safe. I also really did not like the fact that they almost got into Sarah's past just a little bit in this episode. There's a moment where Riku is recalling all of the events which had taken place, and he's like, oh yeah, I remember running into you that one time when you were suddenly sort of passed out and asking for help. And that's it. That's like the extent of the conversation. I really wish that he would have digged a little deeper so that we could learn a little bit what the deal is with Sarah. Again, my theory still stands that she was created from the brake decals. She's some sort of living, sentient AI. They just refuse to talk about this girl and the fact that she's always in this world, always waiting for her friends, and doesn't seem to use Gunpla at all. It's really strange that they never talk about this stuff. Maybe that's just me. But overall, yeah, this episode right here was basically just a build-up to seeing Riku's brand new Gundam and preparing us for the next half of the series. And for that, I can't completely fault it. It still had some pretty cool imagery and all that awesome Gunpla homage stuff that you're going to love. If anything, the intro is a great indicator of what we can expect from the next half of the season, and it still has a lot to live up to. As far as I'm concerned at this point, still the first season of Gundam Build Fighters just absolutely blows this one out of the water. I still think that that one is infinitely rewatchable and the characters are a lot more likable, but who knows? The second half of this season could completely blow me away, and we're going to have to wait to see how that's going to play out. While I am speaking slightly negative of the series, I have to emphasize that I'm still getting a lot of enjoyment from Gundam Build Divers as a fan of the Gundam franchise. And for me personally, as someone who's completely obsessed with Gundam, I have to say that at least having some Gundam and no Gundam at all is at least the next best thing. If anything, it's just going to prepare us for the next big entry in the series. That's always what I sort of saw the Gundam Build Fighters series at, as sort of just something that you watch and enjoy as you wait for the next big real series to pop up. That being said, I still think that the first two seasons of Gundam Build Fighters, in particular the first, is just awesome. So it's really a lot to live up to here, but overall this was an okay episode, which is why I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the episode. However, you can tell me all of them in the comment section below. What do you think of Riku's brand new Gundam, the Gundam 00 Sky? What did you think of seeing Ayame in real life? I think Koichi has the hots for her. They made it pretty obvious in this episode. And what do you hope to see from the second half of Gundam Build Divers? Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel for tons of other anime reviews and more on the Gundam anime franchise. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.